Welcome back. Pregame.tv, Steve Fezzik, Scott Spreitzer, college football. I have a college football expert and an MLB expert, pretty much an expert at everything. And Scott, last week he told you Iowa Hawkeyes fade. Take Iowa State, and they pretty much played that game dead equal the entire game. Iowa State, just a tremendous effort. Iowa looks terrible. Maybe a different story this week. Iowa heads on the road. They go to Pittsburgh.
Well, I've had two plays going against Iowa so far this season, and we're 2-0. Talked about taking Northern Iowa plus the 17 in the opener, and they almost beat Iowa outright. Iowa wins by 8. Was it 31-23, I believe was the final score. Laid off the game against Ball State. They almost lost that game. They were able to come back and win, finally outright, not coming close to the spread. And then last week right here, we did say take the Cyclones plus the points over the Iowa Hawkeyes in that game. Thought the Cyclones were a little bit underrated. Thought they took too much heat for that loss to North Dakota State in the opener. I'm going to go the other way here. I'm actually going to, oh boy.
On a Big Ten team.
I am really setting myself up here to take a look at by people who watch the videos, by other people I know. On the Big Ten team against the ACC team. First of all, it is kind of a homecoming for Kirk Ferentz. This is, he's spent a lot of time in the Pittsburgh area, and that's not the reason I like this team here, but he has done such a great job at getting his teams back on track after a loss. 38-18-1 against the spread. The last 57 times this team has covered the spread off a straight-up loss. They're also 6-0 against the spread in the last 6 on the road. Now, I know a lot of that is against Big Ten opposition, but the bottom line is this team doesn't get unnerved away from home. And I also, I'm not sure I'm a follower of this Pitt Panther team yet. I'm not sure I believe what's going on right now. Some things I saw against Florida International gave me some cause for some concern, Steve.
Let me ask you, the fact that Pitt kicked BC's butt, all right, and then BC rolls USC. Yep. How much it's always hard with so few games to evaluate in our computer model. How much credence do you give to that?
You have to look at it. You have to add that into your handicap a little bit. But I will say this, and I talked about this on our first preview radio shows last week. I've never seen a team get blown out so badly and win a game, and I'm talking about USC beating Stanford a couple of weeks ago. So not only did I think that the pollsters and the public have USC heavily overrated, it was also a terrible situation because you're coming off an emotional victory, kind of a last type of minute victory on the road against one of your chief rivals in your conference, and now you got to go on the road against a school, I don't want to be too mean here, but that a lot of kids on the USC program have never heard of for the most part. And I mean that is kind of a joke, but they don't care about BC. They don't care about Boston College. Now, here's the thing, though. What you do have to add to that mix is the way BC ran all over, rushing the football against that USC defense, and Pittsburgh was able to handle them. That's a little scary when it comes to going against the Pitt Panthers.
The one thing about the BC game, and we did do a video on this, we had videos up on this game, and it wasn't obvious that this was going to happen to the rest of our panel. But I think the fact that we went from a hot day against Stanford and then a night game, drizzle, rain, 55 degrees.
In a place they don't want to be.
It really, I think that magnified the stats that the beach kids suddenly got put into a cold, wet night in Boston. They just weren't ready for it.
I don't want to sound like I'm, pounding my chest here. I didn't go big and have a big play on BC this past week, and I didn't talk about it on videos. It was a play we talked about on a couple of different radio shows, and it was just a lean. Not that BC was going to win outright or dominate at the line of scrimmage, but that they were going to cover the spread in that situation. So, yeah, I factored that in a little bit when it comes to how I judge the Pitt Panthers, but it's also I guess, tempered a little bit because of the situation USC was in.
And Pitt's the type of team, and by the way, I had a 3-star over 51. I got the weather report. I went under 56 and 55, and it was sitting on 54 when they busted the 60-yard run with 3.5 minutes to go. So that was a cell phone into the wall moment for me. But it does seem like Pitt is the type of team that I don't want as a favorite,
Sure.
But then put them in a dog role, and they can hang in with a lot of teams. Not the Florida State, but, a decent team. But here, now they're all of a sudden, they open 4.5, they're up to 6. They got to win by margin. And kind of like, just the test of well, this should be a close game, right?
Yeah, I can make it official.
Let's do it.
Right. Couple of reasons that I'm jumping on the Iowa side. Steve just hit on a few of them. First of all, the situation with Pittsburgh laying points. The Iowa Hawkeyes are going to be in a lot of close games this year. They're going to be in a lot of games that come right down to the final drive or final maybe 5 or 6 minutes of a fourth quarter. I don't like the quarterback in the passing game of the Pitt Panthers right now because this kid Wojtek, man, he wants to run. And he even had a bad game passing-wise against Florida International, something like 9 for 17 and less than 100 yards passing. He's a dink and dunker. But he wants to pull the ball down and run a little bit too fast, and I think that kind of plays into what Kirk Ferentz has this Iowa Hawkeye defense looking for, helps them out a little bit, and then they rely on Big Hoss, man, 6'2", 250-pound running back, coming out of that backfield, too much for my blood. I think they're going to wear this kid down, if not get him injured. Hopefully he won't get injured, but I think they rely on him way too much. And I think, again, they have become now an easy team or an easy offense, relatively speaking, to prep for the Iowa Hawkeyes. So, again, I think we got a game straight up-wise, goes right to the wire, and I think Iowa covers the points. I like them plus the points in this one.
I think it's a solid play. Any chance we can parlay, if it's lower scoring, I think it helps Iowa here.
Definitely.
Parlay it with the under. That worked with one of your other plays earlier in the
I think Hawkeyes and under work well together in this spot. I'm a little bit scared about the way their quarterback, Jake Rudock, is playing right now, some of the decision-making at the line of scrimmage, but you could basically say you're scared about every situation that you look at when it comes to every game you bet on. He's got to get over some of these pre-snap audibles that go right into the heart of the defense. He's done that a little bit too much for me, but I just think the Pitt Panther offense is, again, relatively speaking, an easy prep week for the Iowa defense.
Yeah, it's like, give me 23 points with Iowa and I'll take my chances
there you go.
on whether they're covered. So let's talk about a team that has been scoring more than 23 points. We're going to go to the NFL here in the Cincinnati Bengals. We're breaking down the Bengals' chances against the Tennessee Titans. Back to the NFL. Stay with us. Pregame.tv.
Stuff.